Greetings, future teachers. My name is Clifton Castile. I am a former educator and researcher in the field of education, secondary education. I have taught at universities and also have been supervisors and administrators in private industry. I have given lectures and seminars depicting on what we can do to vanquish, or if not vanquish, mitigate some of the problems you have in the inner city school system among some of the teachers, most noticeably Caucasian teachers. So I have authored numerous articles for peer review that were published, and they were correlated to Caucasian teachers teaching African Americans in the inner city school system. My publications were done empirically and statistically, where I went inside the classroom and observed. One of my articles of publication received worldwide attention, and it was one of the most referenced articles around. And I'll tell you this, over 300 books and periodicals reference me in what I said in this particular article. Now, the title of the article was Teacher-Student Interactions and Race in Integrated Classrooms, published in the Journal of Educational Research. And it was that particular article, the reason it received so much attention was that it was used to argue a case before the United States Supreme Court, a landmark case on affirmative action. So they used one of my articles there to justify having affirmative action. Now, to read any of my articles, you may go to my personal website, which is cliftoncastile.com or cliftoncastile.info. Or you can just go in the internet and search me out. Now, the drawback there is that you will not get the articles in their entirety. You will only get the abstract because the journal has precedence over and they want you to pay for it. So if you go to my website, you can download all of my publications. So this brings us to this point. Why am I here? It's simply this. Someone asked me to go back and relive and talk about some of the problems and how we can solve some of those problems, at least attempt to solve some of those problems. So I'm going to make this video for you that I think will help Caucasian teachers shed some light on it. Okay, communications. And the pearls are not recognizing how little we know how to communicate, how little we know about transactional analysis, TA. Okay, let's get started. African Americans don't come to school to learn. Most teachers go into the discipline of teaching because they love kids. People aren't born with prejudice, they are learned. African Americans use more illicit drugs than Caucasians. Whipping a child consistently does not affect the child's IQ whatsoever. A child's IQ or intelligence is inherited from the father through genetics. A child's IQ or intelligence is given to the child by the mother. Okay, the IQ or races are about the same. They're all pretty much parallel to each other. There's no significant difference there. Okay, everything I've said to you is invalid, wrong, incorrect, false. Why do you believe it, or you believe some of this I was saying? Simply because it's ingrained into your cerebral, because you see it on television, you read about it, it's always some negative stuff. You never see any positive stuff about certain groups of people. And keep in mind, 95% of everything that's in your brain is false. It's wrong. It's been proven. Okay, let's go over a few of these things. Most teachers go into discipline because they can have a lot of time off, not because they love kids, because you can adopt kids. People aren't born with prejudice. Yes, they are. In a case study, a landmark case in Boston, 50 kids at the age of 4 years old, Caucasian, and 50 their counterparts, African Americans. And do you know that the Caucasian kids spat on the African American, took their toys, wouldn't play with them, and they weren't taught that. African Americans do not use more illicit drugs than Caucasian. In fact, according to the FBI and a lot of study done by Vanderbilt University and a lot of other universities, shows that Caucasian use illicit drugs 3.5 times more than African American and Latinos. So why do you believe that? Because you see it on television. You never see Caucasian being hardly ever arrested for it. So we would believe something like this. Okay, whipping a child consistently does affect IQ. It erodes IQ by 15 points, which are very significant. Think of it like this. A child, how do they learn? And from birth to 3 years old are the most formative years. The way they learn is by asking queries. They quiz you. And because we don't know what they want to learn. And they'll say, what is that? What is this here? What is that? And you get a mother who spanks them and is more disadvantaged mother, impoverished mother. It's because they got so many other things going wrong, and they just have to catharticize, and they whip the kid for pulling down something in a store, being inquisitive, and so forth. And not that they don't love their kids, they do. So those 15 points will never be regained. And that birth to 3 years old, no human being will ever learn that fast, that much again. Okay, a child's IQ or intelligence comes from the mother. The mother gives the child their intelligence, their morals, because she spends more time with them. She explains things better, and she'll say, okay, that's not a duck, that's a chicken, and she'll show the difference, and she'll embed some morals there. You don't want to do this, and you don't want to hit this person, and etc. Now, the last one here is the most controversial. The IQ of races are about the same. That's not true. There's a 14 to 15 point gap between African Americans' IQ and Caucasians, and with the Caucasian being on the top. And how did this come to be? Well, there was a controversial book, the most controversial book ever written on race, called A Bell Curve, written in 1985 by Charles Murray. And he used SAT, ACT, LSAT, and probably some Witzer and some more. And he said African Americans scored less than Caucasian. Now, having said that, what he did not do is say what gave rise to that. What are the undermining factors, the variables that caused that to happen? And he should have done that. Okay, here I'll name a few for you. 15%, 10 to 15% of your IQ is self-efficacy, your self-esteem. How do you feel about yourself? Do you feel worthy? That's in sports and anything. We see that in sports. If you feel good about yourself, you perform. African Americans do not. And here's why. You don't have a father in the home. You have water that's full of lead. You have policemen stopping them, beating them, throwing them, say, do you have drugs on you? They live in deplorable housing situation. You have rats, roaches crawling all over them. They hear gunshots. They can't sleep at night. You have abject poverty. You have people in a household who they'll love them, but they take their frustration out of them. They use profanity to them. They go through hungry. They have so much the improper food they take in, and racism and prejudice is just rampant. They go into stores, they are demeaned in stores. They don't get the proper sleep. Health issues are there. They don't have access to health insurance. So therefore, all of these things go to erode a person's IQ. If you feel that you go through self-bereavement, self-handicapping, self-flagellation, you're saying, I don't give a care about myself. I'm not going to amount to anything, and I don't care. And another thing, those suburban kids, middle class, are tutored for the SAT. Not so in the ACT. You see waste dumps put on that side of town. You see just you name it, and it's done to African Americans. Okay, and they have premature birth when they first come into this world. They have some issues, some mental issues, learning disabilities. And not only that, they give premature birth. 6 weeks premature versus a Caucasian with no education, no insurance. We think it's stress. And that holds true for the intelligentsia African American female, those who are pharmacists, those are lawyers, doctors, CPAs, those people have perfect insurance. They also give premature birth. And that child, when they go to school, say pre-K, they're going to put the head down, they got asthma, they got toothaches, they got all sorts of things. All of that goes to erode that IQ, taking that 15 points away. Okay, now, what I'm going to tell you is it's not etched in stone. It's kind of a guiding point. You can use this here as a template, but it's not absolute. So, here we go. Teachers, as educational practitioners, you can join the ones that hate, or you can inject your moral code. Some teachers can't get other jobs, so they go and teach. Well, guess what? They put you in the worst schools possible. These schools are falling down. African Americans, as we know, inner city, they have some of the worst schools. Rats are coming down. They have no new technology versus the suburban. All that goes with the IQ. You get some of the unqualified teachers to teach there. So, if you go there as a Caucasian teacher, seeing all this on television, you go there and say, I really don't want to be here, but the school system sent me here and I got to stay here until I can find something better. Well, you shouldn't go into teaching. You shouldn't be there. Consider this. 98% of those kids are going to be African Americans, if not a 100 in the inner city. And by the year 2025, 96% of all teachers in secondary level and elementary will be Caucasian teachers. But if you go in there in fear, thinking, oh, they can't learn, they're not going to learn anything, they're just here because it's mandatory that they be at school, they're dumb, they're on crack cocaine, they're violent, then your student's going to know that right away, and they're not going to produce anything. You won't have a fruitful and a productive class, and it's a disgrace. And it's disrespectful to your charges, your students. Okay, keep in mind when those people come there, they come there, nadir, at their lowest point. They've been sexually assaulted, some of them. How would you feel? You put your head down, you cry. You go in there and people look at them with a look of askance, and I hope you don't. Your attitude and your behavior goes a long ways. If you're indifferent towards them, I got to stay my distance, then they'll pick it up right away. And they won't even try. They're kids. They don't know they're hurting themselves. Oh, sure, you will enter that classroom with a certain degree of biasness and prejudice, but try to leave it at home if you can. And don't build a firewall between you and the students. Control your emotional thermostat. Most white teachers, I do believe, have no intentions of being racist or prejudiced, but they see it on television. So try to mitigate that if you can. Another thing I want to say, let's get into the classroom now. Don't intentionally or unintentionally mispronounce your charge's name. Delon or Devon or and if you can't pronounce it, ask the child, say, can you help me like I did? Is the D silent? Oh, the D is silent. And they will thank you for it. Because if not themselves, don't worry about it. But it's their name. It's important to them. Their parents gave it to them. Just like Beth Ann or Kayla Ann, it's important to you. And don't use this type of language. You people in the back, if you people don't want to learn, why did you come to school? I got mine. You better try to get yours. Stop being stupid, people. Don't say coded language like, what happened in the hood? Stop talking, dude. That's so disrespectful. Y'all better do this and do that. And they know they're saying, you don't respect us. Is that the way our teacher's supposed to? Keep in mind, these kids have never been around a white teacher or white person in a positive setting. Not even on their job if they have part-time jobs. So they are fearful of you, just as fearful as you are of them. And another thing I would suggest that you do, try calling your charges Mr. or Miss. You'll be surprised. They have never heard Miss or Miss. Miss Johnson, Mr. Smith, do that. And you're saying, I respect you. You give them something to live up to. You're an adult or young adult. And they've never heard young man, gentleman this, or young lady this here. And their parents have never heard it. They have been with their parents where people do not speak to them formally. They don't say Mrs. Johnson. They say Ella, Susie. And they're grown. And that's so disrespectful. It's gut-wrenching, really. So don't you do that, please. And for its praise and reprimand, for every reprimand, 50 reprimands to one praise. Isn't that something? 50 reprimands, 50 negative things. Oh, you're stupid, you can't do this here. Look at your hair, it's nappy, this is wrong with you. And they hear that at home, and they're only given one praise. That says all of it. If you and try to extol them, praise them as much as you can. Oh, you look wonderful. You did a great job. A little bit more though, but you'll get in there. Okay, some of the classroom techniques. Keep in mind that your children's attention span is going to be very limited, maybe 10, 12 minutes, just like adults are. So I always stopped in the middle of talking, discussing something about class, and started talking about something else that happened. Did you all know this here? Oh, I'll tell a joke, and then you get back to it. Never scream at your charges in class. It shows that you're lost control. And it's embarrassing to your charge, and they're going to respond in a very negative way. So it only shows that you're in the other class that she's lost control or he's lost control. Okay, you have to be educational. I call it practitioners, and I like that. And here's what I came up with. This is called the diagnostic prescription. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we're going to follow the steps. The first step is observe your charges. What's wrong? Is it an academic problem, or it could be a behavioral problem? Observe it and say, yes, and you validate there is a problem there, or there's another problem with this other. Step 2, diagnose the problem. Say, oh, I know what's wrong. This is that, and I should do this, and I should do it, and I can see this. Yes, it is a problem. They're failing. Step 3, write a prescription. Oh, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this person away from this other person, or I'm going to have them to come back instead of going to PE if it's an academic problem, or I'm going to go out there and help that person. And then after a while, evaluate what you've done. See if it works. It may not. You may have to write more and more prescription, but teachers have this thing, well, why should I do all of that? I have been taught this way. Teachers are not by vicissitude, some of them, but the great ones are, and they are very innovative. Okay, when you procure the papers, please say, thank you, Miss So-and-so. Call out the name. Thank you, Mr. So-and-so. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that goes a long ways. You're saying you're important. You matter to me. Write something affirmative on their paper. Like, oh, you almost made it, but you are so wanting to thank you for not talking in class. You have made an improvement. People want to hear positive things, all of us. Now, if 50% of your class is failing or is disruptive, then it's on you. You're going to have to write another prescription or go to another teacher and observe what they're doing. And you should be more creative. Teachers who are ready for change will come up with innovative ideas. You can use the Hawthorne Effect. What's the Hawthorne Effect? It's where you move things around. And I can guarantee you, I've seen it with other teachers, their productivity goes up. Move the chairs around, change the lighting, change the board, or whatever. You can do those wonderful things. Have guest speakers to come out there. And don't get lawyers or doctors. They can't relate to that. Get someone that they can tie a linking pin to, someone in the community that maybe was sexually assaulted or dropped out of school and now got a nail salon or barber shop, and have them to talk to them. Okay, discuss some of the things that happened to you that you did that was so idiotic. Let them know you're human. They'll respect you more. You're not putting yourself on your high horse. And allow your charges to evaluate you. That means every 9 weeks, let them do it on paper, and they'll tell you whether you didn't discuss it or you pick on them or what. Learn to apologize even if you weren't wrong, just say, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were being vociferous and you were loquacious. I apologize. Say that. It doesn't put you down. In fact, the whole class will revere you for doing that. And at the end of the class period, how about taking 5 or 6 minutes to say, you know what, this was so wonderful today. You all were wonderful. I'm so proud of you all. Didn't we have a nice lesson today? And just share some of your experiences like I did. I screamed at this white lady, and it wasn't even about that. I made a mistake. Did you apologize? Yes, I did, over and over to her. When you think that you're wrong, just go ahead and say, the next day, I was wrong for what I did. I was wrong for screaming at so-and-so. I've done it and I'll scream. Don't grade papers at your desk and give them busy work. You're saying, I'm going to water down the lesson for you people. You can't learn. I give you anything. Yes, if you challenge them, they'll do better, I can assure you. And when a child is failing, how about pulling up? I used to keep a folding chair in the room, and I would take that folding chair and sit by one of my charges that was failing, and it really helped. Give them a couple of answers there. And you should never sit at your desk. I never sat at my desk when I was teaching at all. I just walked around because there's always someone that needs help. And you just insist on helping them. And when I did talk to the class and I was tired, I pulled one of the empty desks and faced the kids, and almost right there in where I can feel them almost to that they need help. Have group participation. If a child is failing one of your charges, have them to work with someone who's not failing, or put them in a group. And a peer will help each other very much. Meet with a colleague and say, in your discipline, can you help me out? I'm having some real problems. Maybe it's discipline or something else. And let them evaluate you. You go sit in their class and see what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. You may have to write another prescription. Attend extracurricular activities such as games, dances, and so forth, and eat in the cafeteria with them. And you'll be surprised. They'll have more respect for you and see that you're just one of them. You have respect for them. And when you come into class, be ebullient. Don't open your book and I better not hear anyone talk. I'm telling you, I'm not in the mood for that today. Smile. It goes a long ways, and especially female smiling. It's everything. Let's see here. And take self-inventory of what you're doing. Just ask yourself, did I do right? Okay. Okay, as far as discipline is concerned, and when you have a discipline problem, don't send them to the office. It's not going to solve anything unless it's the last resort. What you should do is say, I'd like to have a coterie with you. And you have a coterie with that student one-on-one, but do it after class. Don't embarrass them in class. Screaming at them and saying, you stop it. You're always getting on my nerves. You always disturb this class. How stupid are you? Why don't you quit school? That's not going to solve. The other kids are not going to respect you. What you want to do is, I always did when a child was being very loquacious, what I would do is gradually walk by there. I wouldn't want people to look. I'd gradually from talking, and I'd get there and I'd have a piece of paper written. I'd say, a card. I kept those. And it says, would you please stop talking? I'd appreciate it. And that you don't embarrass the child. And also you can send them out of the room. You can pair with another colleague, say yours is disruptive, send them in my class and mine is disruptive. I'll ask them to go next door. I ask them and say thank you. And by the way, they know that they were upsetting you. And chances are they didn't mean to do that. They didn't mean, and what we do is we say, you know, that person of the opposite race is trying to try me. I've said white kids are trying to do that. No, they aren't. They're just kids. They don't come to school to upset you. It's just other issues. So after you have talked to the child, didn't do any good, you send them next door. I tell you what, then go to the counselor. Say, who's your counselor? Let's go to your counselor instead of going to PE. Let's go and talk. And the counselor will take a neutral stand and say, well, you're always screaming at the kid, and you try to resolve it like that. Okay, and if that doesn't work, then you can bring in their parents. But never have the police. They shouldn't have policemen in school. They slam kids down, kick them in the face because they haven't been trained. A kid will say to the little girl, put up the telephone. Well, I'll put it up in a minute. Well, teachers know how to handle that. They don't. It's really, and that child will never come back to school because they're embarrassed. So now they drop out, because we know most of them drop out in middle school and junior high. So let's don't do that. So let's get the parents up there. How do we do that? We call the parent and we ask the parent to come up there. But in doing that, we have a smile on our face, we laugh, and we create a positive atmosphere. Maybe say like, let me get you a Coke. Would you like, if you're in the lounge, would you like a Coke, or would you like some coffee? That parent doesn't want to come up there. They feel embarrassed. You're a white teacher. You're a white person. They never had anything positive with a white person to do, and they figure you're looking down on them. You're thinking they're a crack addict. They're stupid. They can't speak the King's English. So you can mitigate all of that and vanquish it, really, if you just say, Mrs. So-and-so, even if it's not Miss or whatever the case is, and you will tell that person, look, I have a few problems with Mr. So-and-so, and I know together we can solve this problem. But first, let me tell you some positive thing. He comes to class on time, or he respects me. He called me Miss and Mr. But we got a few problems academically or behavior. It should be academically too, as well as behavior. What would you do? Get their input. How would you help me? And I'm calling you because I think you can help me solve this problem. And they'll help you. You have now made them feel worthy. And you're not saying, I'm some Caucasian person who's looking down on you. And if the child is in there with you, then you want to call Mr. So-and-so in front. And they're going to notice how you respect their mother. Hearing you call her Miss, you smile. They're going to love that. I'll send you a progress report. Would you want me to call you or just mail it to you? I can guarantee you that will go a long ways in solving your discipline problem and academically. And that parent will have a lot of respect. When the child gets home, you know, Miss So-and-so is the only teacher that ever respected me. You better act right. Do you hear me? And when you send a progress report home or call them, you know, Dewan is acting so much better. I don't know what you did, but I am so grateful for you for helping me, because we both have his interests or her interests at bay here. So thank you so much. Now, what you got to do there is continually follow up, write a new prescription over and over. And in conclusion, I would like to say this. I know it's a lot of work. You have to be super erogatory. Yes, you have to go beyond what you should, but you shouldn't be a teacher if you don't want to do that. We all have to do this here. But you can shape that child. They can go from I can't to I can. I'm nobody, I am somebody, because you spend a lot of time, with them. So please do that. They can go from despair, I just can't, I'm nobody, I'm an African American, nobody respects me. Please do that. And another thing I'd like to say for you to do is to subscribe to a professional journal or something like Phi Delta Kappa. That'll give you some ideas on what to do. Ask to go to workshops from your school system. That will help you with kids. And like I said, ask other teachers, because chances are they may not even be giving other teachers problem. And if you do those things, I think we'll get there. And I really do believe that. And I want to thank you so much. I'm sorry I rushed through this here, but I had to. Thank you. And go to my website and read some of my articles. Thank you so much, educational practitioners.